Nice. Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Free Spoken with Allie and Amy.
Hello, hello. Glad to be back with you, Allie.
Awesome. Well, Amy and I have been chatting for like an hour and a half now. We figured we might as well press record.
Let's do it.
Yes. And we already kind of called in our team, so we're just gonna just extend a beautiful bubble of sacred protection around you and in the ethers between us and all of our viewers. Just wishing you wellness, blessings, and bliss.
Yeah, and happy manifesting.
Yes.
Yeah, well, let's dive right in. We were just talking about a really cool topic that we both have personal experience with. And this is a very common topic that maybe people aren't aware of yet, but
And
it's
probably a
just
little controversial.
yeah, maybe a little controversial because there's so many perspectives to take on this. And it's what we're exposing our children to, and what various ways they're being influenced by media in all the ways it's being they're out there being able to watch content that may or may not be appropriate for their age, and all the subliminal like programming behind the actual content they're viewing or participating in, like video games. um yeah, so Allie, tell
Yeah.
me what you were thinking on this. What's so important and what drives you? What makes you so passionate about the awareness on this?
Yeah. Oh, I love that question. I want to say we want to touch on a couple things. Video games, shows, youth watching subliminals, subliminals being put into the shows, all of the above. I would say the thing that I'm the most passionate about, obviously, is because I have a kiddo and she's 10 and she's super sensitive to anything she puts in her body, including food and or things that she's watching. Um, I would say that one thing that's brought my awareness to this so much has been doing sessions with other people and realizing that um, a lot of times the things that are made for us to consume visually on TV, media wise, can be can be harmful, two can be helpful. But there's also like this third awareness here of malintent, malevolent beings um, wanting to program us through what we watch. I've recently become aware of the hypnotization, I guess it would be called. I don't even know, is that what it's called? Through like
Robotization.
yeah, being hypnotized basically through news media by the music that they play at the beginning. Sometimes they'll play like visuals that will keep your, I mean, everything is intended to keep your attention, to make you think what they're saying is true and that they know best. And right, so that's just news alone, and we ain't even go there on any of the news stuff because we're just talking about mostly what youth are consuming visually.
Yeah.
But this has been fired up just this week because we homeschool, and I just became known as the strict mom with my friend and her daughter, or my daughter and her friends. And just this week, because it's spring break and she's been kicking it with her friends, and they see that like I don't play. First of all, like I expect manners. Don't be rude to me. Don't be disrespectful. Like I do not tolerate that at all. I think I was just raised really, really strict, and I also expect respect. I'm not rude about it. I'm not, but I definitely ain't gonna like give you a cup because you asked for a cup. Like, better ask me nicely. I will hook you up with some OJ from some squash, fresh squeezed OJ from my hands and my juicer and my, beautiful organic juices. But you better say please, like, and thank you about it, and put your cup in the sink. I feel like it's just like, regular stuff. But I feel like I definitely am stricter than a lot of parents in what my kid plays and watches. I don't allow her to, if there's a game that has a gun, why should a kid have a gun unless they're being taught how to use a gun properly to feed themselves, or nourish their bodies, or learn how to protect themselves. To me, there should be no play involved with guns, and I've always felt really strongly about that. um Maybe not as strongly as some other parents, but now we see in Roblox, my daughter has been restricted from playing certain games where, because like I overheard like a shooting happening, and I'm like, I'm sorry, is that in your game? And I think she was playing Brookhaven at the time, and it was like somebody, they role play like, and in Brookhaven, all kinds of different stuff. And in this specific game, somebody came into a hospital and shot up the hospital, and then the cops come and try to kill the person that shot up the hospital. And to me, like, all the stuff that we're seeing right now, oh, they probably about to take our guns away and everything because of
Mhm.
how many mass shootings there have been. At this point, I feel like that's what they're gunning for. Um,
Mhm.
but then we have our kids playing these games where they're basically practicing going in and shooting up a hospital or shooting the person that shot up a hospital. So like, to me, it's like, why would you even put that? I don't even let my kid watch the news because of shit like that. But why would you put that in their head as a game to play? Like,
Yeah.
that's fun. Like, how is that even okay psychologically for a child who is developing their brain to play? So,
Mhm.
that, and then it comes to, we were just talking about Wednesday and how, it's PG-14, and there are tons of kids watching it. I mean, 5, 6, 7 year olds watching it, and it's PG-14, and my daughter's like, well, why can't I watch it? We watch one episode, and there's like gory body parts cut up and thrown all over a forest in the very first episode. And then, she puts piranhas in a pool, and it goes and eats up this little high school kid, and they show blood all over the pool. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Desensitizing for sure.
Exactly. That's the word. I was looking for that yesterday. I'm like, what is it that why is this bothering me? It's because it's desensitized. Not only is it desensitizing, but if they're role playing this, like, this is how we manifest things. Like, we fantasize about, right, having all the money we need to pay all the bills and have the car we need, be driving the car. We fantasize about it, and we role play it in our heads. We imagine it. But when you're playing a game, you're not just imagining it. It's becoming more real when you get to control
Yeah.
the situation, and have the gun in your hand and shoot it, have the power to shoot it. Like, that's, to me, that's just astounding. But I don't know, I know I'm strict. And so me and Amy were just talking, and yeah, you tell me your perspective and what your experience with your kids have been. You have a bunch of kids, and I'm not a bunch of kids, but a couple kids in a different age groups, and that's a whole nother ball game right there.
Yeah. Right. I know. It really does depend on like the kid and like how well you have, I mean, introduce things and like set up the knowledge bank of information of like what this is you're viewing is not correct and it's just made up material and it's to entice you to believe a certain way. Do you want to believe that way or do you want to be like have the bigger picture? And it's hard for all kids, like but I just kind of lay it out for them because I have three kids, 16, 14, and 10, and girl, boy, girl. And my son in particular loved to play, of course, with guns ever since he was little and loved to do, you know, just kid games. And then I would always be the strict parent as well, all the time with him, not allowing him to play video games. I never allowed video game at all in our home other than like the old like 1980 Nintendo that I played. I'm like, play away at this, have fun,
Yeah.
but and that's where it's whole like good-hearted fun is the past. Now it's more contrived in manipulating the behavior of our minds for youth. And I had a really big issue with this as well. So I've kind of been, um, but now he's 14 and, playing Roblox and I've schooled him enough to make sure he knows what's going on, but he's still like, I want to do it anyways. So, okay, well, you can play this one game and that's it. but it doesn't have anything else where it's, he's communicating. All of his friends have them and they communicate on headsets to each other and they have like actual conversations of what they're doing, how they're doing it. And it's very detailed. And they're having everyday conversations in the midst of like this negative behavior. So it gets intertwined with their everyday conversations,
Wow.
even away from the games. So for me, I'm like, that is crazy. And I just, that's where my line in the sand is with that. Um, but it is everywhere. It's like Wednesday, because of the older kids wanting to watch the show, the youngest kid wanted to watch it as well. And I'd watch it with them and I would just fast forward these bad parts that were not appropriate. But I mean, that's the way I'm handling it because she's like, I want to watch it too. Okay, well, this is our option.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one, but it goes this subject for manipulating the behavior of our children and their minds, what they think, and it's programming, number one, and its ill intent is on purpose. So I was aware of these like psyops a long time ago, but this is a big one, and it goes on and on and on. It's never ending, it seems. We can look at very many subjects within our society, and most of them are psyops.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mhm. There's so many dope um shows for kids. Specifically, we don't have like satellite TV. We don't have like channels, but we have like Netflix and Disney Plus, and
Yeah.
there's just some really dope shows on there. Like I'll just name a few off the top of my head. There's Miraculous, Mako Mermaids, She-Ra, Avatar, Good Witch is one of our apps. That is our absolute favorite thing to watch together. We've watched every episode, but they stopped making
Yeah.
those. That is such a good show. And even with those shows though, like Mako Mermaids, it's a couple high school kids, and they're mermaids, and their biggest concern is how to make sure that the merman doesn't take over the mermaid colony, and you know what I mean. But they date, they're dating, and it's really PG. They're the most extravagant thing that happens is a kiss here and there. But there's other shows that we've watched where I'm like, wow, like I wonder, because my kid's 10 and they're watching shows about high school kids who do high school things, who, are talking about relationships and stuff, but she's 10. So now she talks about relationships and I'm like, well, how much of that is because of the shows that she's watching about high school kids talking about relationships? You know, where do we draw the line? Like, where do we know what is appropriate or not for our kids, and how to teach them how to use their discernment about what they're watching? Like there's this one show called Raising Dion. I love it, but there's some scary shit in there, and she used to like it, but it just got to a point where it was making her uncomfortable because there's some scary shit. And so she
Hmm.
knows to turn it off. She won't watch it.
Hmm.
And so but part of me is like she wants to watch Wednesday because other her friends are watching it and talking about it and dressing, their hair like this. And now there's all these little toy shows that are obsessed with Wednesday. So it makes her think about Wednesday, where ordinarily after we watched that first episode and we saw what we saw, she wouldn't talk about it again. It wouldn't be something she would bring up because everyone else is talking about it and being about it and watching it. Now
Yeah.
she wants to again. So I guess that's where I'm stuck right now. And I felt so defeated yesterday. Like, man, I thought I was doing so good, just like protecting her sweet little soul as a pure innocent being. And the other part of it too, I will say, is like ain't nobody else got to deal with her when she got her nightmares. She waking up,
Yeah.
and screaming, and I'm holding her as she's crying and scared and mortified, because a lot of
Yeah.
these shows, like I hate to say it, but they're ways that open up portals to, things with ghosts or other realms or this or that. There a lot of it can open portals in people's minds or souls, and I've only seen that in sessions with people, so I don't know how that all works personally because I don't be messing with the astral realm. But I guess that's where I'm stuck right now. Is I'm like, damn man, I don't want to be the strict parent, but I also don't know how to, one, tell if she does know how to use her discernment, or if she's just going to watch it because her friends are watching it anyways. And
Mhm.
I don't have the time to monitor every single thing that she's watching and playing. So we take it one step at a time. We watch one episode. If we ain't clicking with it, we ain't gonna watch it. If we play a game where I go on YouTube and research a game, what people are experiencing, and they're talking about pretending to be kidnapped and shit, like, it's a no for me. It's a strong no. But how do we tell them or show them or teach them, how to do that? And I'm just asking questions out loud. I don't
Yeah.
love your perspective.
Yeah, it's actually good you're mentioning this, because it makes me wonder if there's a clearing we can do for the kids to remove these portal attachments from their field, like before they go to bed, or even like after they watch the show, or before they watch the show, like put them, do some more like intentional things. I wonder if that would work.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we have conversations with people that we know are going to drain us,
Yeah.
but we're going to have the conversations with anyways, my daughter will be like, all right, let's get in our bubble. And I'm like, oh my God, great idea. Let's do it. Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I know that that's possible. Um, yeah, I wonder if there's like as if we don't have enough routines, but like a protection routine, that she could do full on before she watches something. And we always do it before bed. But I do find, like, it doesn't matter. There are some things, if she watches or plays, it will still get to her, if it's too gnarly, which is why I've created these boundaries. Um,
Right. But more of like intent focus on just like the portals that they're like connecting in with,
mhm.
through the shows, because I don't know if a lot of people know, but like even watch the television set, say like just the news, or the news particularly, there are like this subliminal like frequency in the background that's rolling,
Yeah.
and it's highly hypnotic. And there's even, what is it? There's like this frequency, the silent frequency that's being broadcasted out, and it's broadcasting the program's cells, right? Of what they want you to believe and understand as truth. So that's going on in these shows as well. So it's a matter of either doing the protection and seeing if it works, or eliminating like you're doing, like just not allowing, or just get rid of the TV shows over Netflix and Disney Plus. I mean, I've I've strongly considered doing this for my family, and just like gotten, just subscribing to Gaia. And I know that there's a few others, that are super PG and like just informative.
Yeah.
So it's been on my mind as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I,
So
I
much.
I also want to point out, we were talking about the subliminals, that I just put a little quick video out on my YouTube channel about this, because I either have clients who are doing body sculpting who listen to subliminals and or affirmations. Um, but there's a lot of kids that we're finding, like teenage kids, like really like 20 and under, 20, 23 and under. Um, I mean, as young as like 13, who are listening to these subliminals. Some of them are like getting a boyfriend, getting good grades at school, having the best friend clique, attracting love, attracting money, dream car. Like, there's so many subliminals that
Mm,
you can listen to on YouTube. I mean, there's millions and millions and millions of them. And there's I learned this the hard way 5 years ago, but there are some subliminals who literally put like demonic affirmations in their subliminals, and they don't list them, obviously, so you're not aware of them unless you slow the track down and listen to them. And some people get really scary effects from these subliminals. There are some really, really great ones that have good um things in them too, and some people even like change the frequency, use music with high frequency
mhm.
that will affect you in a positive way. So it's really just about, it's not clicking on like, oh, that one sounds good. Yeah, let's add that to my list. It's really kind of doing your research and finding ones that align with you, using your discernment, asking your higher self and your protection team to guide you to ones that to align with you, but we were talking about how these subliminals that kids are just clicking on with total unawareness of what they're doing, and like that, right? Like how to know if what you're watching, it may be or opening up a portal in you, or adding negative subliminals, or trying to program your mind in a way that you wouldn't want it to, um because these kids are suffering from, suicidal thoughts, or thinking that they're, thinking really bad things about themselves because of these subliminals doing this on purpose. And so people don't want to acknowledge that this stuff is out here, but bro, it's happening. Like these kids have it in their head, and are having to deal with some really dark shit because of, and they don't even know why,
Yeah.
so it's terrifying to me that that's a part of the reality that we live in. And yeah, just like, I don't know how to teach our kids to like pay attention to those things. Even I'm teaching grown ass women how to do it while they're listening to subliminals. So these kids, I mean, they're much more at risk, I feel like. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. The children are targeted, honestly. And
Totally, exactly.
this is a multifaceted attack on humanity, honestly, but then it's hyper focused on the kids. And that's why we have, oh, so many issues right now regarding the influences on kids, you know, to the kids being exposed to the drag queens coming in for show and tell or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Which isn't inappropriate. Many people they're trying to normalize that, you know. And then it goes into the foods we give our kids and not knowing that there's, toxic chemicals in this baby food or in the snacky food that we're giving our toddlers.
Yeah.
Or I just watched a video yesterday that was this scientist went and got Nutella, put it under a microscope and showed little wiggly things going on inside of this Nutella.
Oh my gosh.
So we have an attack on our mental, emotional, or physical being with the food we consume. And this is where it's like it's a huge red flag for many people, but often many people just don't see it because we're just so busy with our life, and it's not brought to our attention until maybe a friend says, "Oh, you may want to look into this." Because as our consciousness rises, we notice this stuff everywhere,
Right.
and it's raising the discernment level to just like forgiving yourself for everything you weren't aware of, and then moving forward and going, what else is there? Wow. And it is kind of overwhelming at first, but you just get to the point where you know how to protect yourself, you know what to look out for, and it's multifaceted.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's a part of our journey that's been difficult, like with my daughter who has had medical and spiritual um, issues forever. I mean, she's super sensitive to everything. And so, as far as being that person who, when we go out to eat, we have to be gluten free. Does the ketchup have red dye in it? I mean, it looks to others like I'm just this snobby, like, I don't, want this as
Yeah.
part of our, life, but really it's just out of like safety and wellness, that we don't eat things that have stuff like that in them. Like anything that is processed, we make sure that it has like the least amount of ingredients as possible. And that's because of our journey. But it can look like, even my family, like when I first started having my daughter be gluten free, she was like 1 or 2, and my family would be like, oh, you're one of those, like thinking it's a trend. Like, nah, bro, it's for our
Yeah.
well-being. Like it's for her to be able to go to the bathroom normally and stuff like that. And so, and even still my family is like, oh, she's a picky eater. No, it's because of what we don't want in our food. It's what we choose not to put in our bodies. And so it's the same thing with what we watch. It's the news,
Yep.
and everyone is different. Everyone's on their own path, their own journey. Some people never awaken to any of this stuff, and some people are awake to all of it. And it does make it hard to live in a reality like this, where we're like 1 foot in the 3D, where we're like, all right, let's go out to dinner, even though everything is made in like peanut oil and gluten and like literally the cheapest cheese or whatever. And we're
Canola
aware
oil.
of, yeah, exactly. We're super aware of that and we choose that every once in a while. Um, but it's walking the other line where we know, okay, well, we're going to need to clean ourselves out from this. And like, for probably days at this point, just because we know like we're super sensitive now that we don't eat it all the time, and that we upkeep this. And I don't know, it's just hard to like walk the line, right, of like even just of raising a child with this consciousness. Like my kid is my everything. She's my best friend. And I tell her everything that I know because I want her to know this now rather than having to wait until she's an adult to learn it. So when there is this stuff happening, it's kind of walking that fine line of like making sure she's aware of things but not creating a fear in her, like making sure she's aware that kids get kidnapped and bad things happen, but not making her so fearful to like walk around the corner to her friend's house by herself, um,
Mhm.
or whatever. Same thing with wildlife, like there's bears out, but just being aware of what to do, like is it takes that fear out of it, right? But walking
Yes,
the line between 3D and 5D realities is it's tricky. It's tricky. So yeah.
it is. And raising new earth children is quite the task
Oh my gosh, yeah.
because you have the constant bombardment of 3D like in your face constantly. And
Totally.
especially with the friends that are just, mainstream friends that they have. But yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you just have to load them up with the best knowledge possible and share them what you think they're going to be resonant with and able to understand, and um, and then let it their discernment. Just have enough trust and knowing that they're discerned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. And being able to detach and let go. She's 10 years old and we're at that age where I'm like, okay, I've got to be able to trust you to use your discernment. I've got to trust that I've taught you well enough to know what that feels like, what a yes feels like, what a no feels like, what I shouldn't be doing this or let's do this feels like,
love
throughout
it.
the rest of life.
I know you're training her well. So great. Yeah, I know it's a really big job that we have. It's so much fun, but it's also like, you know, and I'm so glad you've been doing this since she was little. I haven't so much, and so now I have a little bit of kickback from my oldest, who, she has her own phone, and so she's programmed in her own way of what she watches. Um, and I've had to let go of that, but it's a matter of her finding her own way now because I have literally, she knows a lot of my beliefs, and now she gets to make her own.
Yeah,
It's a really big, huge thing of just letting go and just not fighting, but just having like, okay, well, there's many perspectives and just talking about it.
totally.
So it's really interesting and it helps me ground into how to listen better, not
Definitely.
be the teacher all the
Yeah.
time.
It's so cool how they teach us just as much, if not more, than
Totally.
we teach them in this reality.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's beautiful. I wouldn't give it up for the world, but there's definitely some tricky parts where I'm like, man, how do I even do this? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah. It's beautiful because I think what we're coming up with is going to be helpful for others who are going
Totally.
through the same thing.
And I would definitely love to hear any and everyone else's perspectives on this because I even saw a remark on a post that I had made about this specifically about in other countries they have the same kind of games and the same kind of movies and there's no more violence there than there is here, and I'm like, well, I'm not really comfortable with the amount of violence that we have here, so that doesn't really say much to me. Um,
Mhm.
you know, based on what these kids are being exposed to. So if they're at the same level we're at, that's still not wonderful. So, um, yeah, I'd be super curious what that looks like. I also you know, it keeps coming up to my awareness that like I keep thinking about this, that like, man, I wonder, you know, if it was harder or easier for our parents who, I mean, mine are definitely completely unaware and unawakened to all of this. So, you know, not having this inner standing, like if it was harder to raise kids or easier, you know, not, you know, we were just being introduced to computers when I was a kid. Like their computers were like the old prehistoric computers were our very
Yeah.
first like what.
Mhm.
So you know there was none of this access online to all that stuff when we were this age, really. I mean, we were looking at encyclopedias online. That was the coolest thing we could find online,
Yeah.
um you know, when I was a kid. So it's just completely different ball game. But, you know, there was a lot of shows that we were exposed to that like now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I watched that as a kid. Like I would never, you know, there's a lot of insinuations and stuff that like, you know, were
Yeah.
for the adults, but it was a kid show. And so I just wonder like how, if it's harder for us now or easier
Mhm.
for us now having the awareness. It's harder because we, you know, feel like we have to let our kids be aware and monitor a little bit more and let, you know, figure out what's safe and what's not, versus back then like there was no awareness, so it was just like go ahead watch it, it seems it says it's kid friendly so you're fine like. And now we're kind of
Mhm.
dealing with the repercussions of that, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I honestly think it's harder now than it was when we were growing up for sure, because there's so much influence.
Totally.
And I mean, I things that were introduced to me when I was younger, I think about this a little bit. It just went honestly right over my head. And I didn't know what they were talking about, nor did I inquire. I was like, oh, whatever. I'm like, I'm sure I'll understand that when I'm older. But like I really didn't care about it. So it's really interesting. But now I think the kids are just so mature because they're exposed to so much, they know more.
Right.
And they're developing so much faster. Not in a good way, I don't think. As far as expectations, and you see kids being with cell phones at like third or fourth grade, and it creates more division, I think, because my kids don't have cell phones till they're 15,
Right.
and that's like crazy town because like all their friends have them, they're the last ones. And my son, he's like really wants one, he knows the rules, right?
Right.
um but it's really really fascinating. um
When I
I just
just
find, what's that?
and I just think, you know, like you're saying, with all the influences that and maturing quickly, to me, ultimately what that is just kind of stripping them of their innocence. Like
Yes, it is.
it's their of stripping them of their childhood. Like enjoy being a child because this never comes again. Once you're an adult forever. But this
Yeah.
childhood is something to be treasured and enjoyed the innocence of what it is, and not having all the responsibility, letting those come slowly as they may. But um yeah, it's just mind-blowing to me that it's just like, I don't know, it's like stealing their
Yeah.
innocence from them. It's wild.
And yeah. And you've heard of those families that don't allow TVs in their home, right?
Totally, yeah, that's what's up. I'm
Yeah.
about to go that way. No, I'm just
So true. It's so true. It's like that's a little extreme, but like the happy medium is maybe just having a TV for movies that you approve of, that you want to play now and again, but don't make electronics the focus point of the daily life.
right.
But like they've trained us so well to think that's just normal. But I always tell my kids, I'm like, TV was not invented in like whatever, 60 years ago. Before then, humans were not exposed to this kind of technology or this kind of behavioral mindset around how to be programmed. People were people, and humans were like, they were more communal based. We didn't have things to distract ourselves with just constantly. So
Totally.
I'm like, it's a diversion away from being the best human and like how to be the most organic human, right? Like, what is that? What is an organic human? If we
Right.
look go back at like 100 years, in different societies around the world, I mean, you'll find that most of them are communal based and they're unit based. Like it's just, and that's what we're going back to. So I think the first step is going into 5D. Obviously, TVs are not going to be aware. They're not going to be around. Like they're,
Yeah,
I don't, if they are, they're going to be like educational purposes only.
right.
I don't know. It's gonna be a leap to get there, but it's a matter of like, what steps do we take to help our kids grow up in this wild world until we get there?
Yeah. And I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Like, people are talking about the big earthquake happening or an EMP or a solar flash that takes out all the electrical system, for these kids who are completely dependent on them, which, I was just talking to my friend the other day and I'm like, honestly, like that's partly our fault. And I get it. I'm a single mom and I have been since she was 1. So
Yeah,
unfortunately, the screen has been my babysitter way more than I've wanted. And even that I try to keep to a minimum and stuff, but it's hard. And so
yeah,
these children are dependent on screens. And so how do we make that less almost like traumatic, right? Like when those aren't available to at least to the same capacity, because if we go back to the way that I've felt we are, they won't be. And
yeah,
that will be a shock to their system. Like, oh,
yeah,
I can't see what my friends are doing on TikTok like
yeah,
every day. Like, what am I gonna
for
do?
sure.
What did they have for breakfast? Like,
The,
you know what I mean?
the,
Like,
the coping mechanisms are gonna have to like be
bro,
renewed.
for real. Yeah. Like I think about that. Like these, especially the teenagers now, who are this has been what they know, their whole lives. And versus like my 10-year-old, she'll get over it because she's not even an adult yet. She's not even a teenager yet. But yeah, that's a huge part of it. So I think
Yeah,
about that.
it's a big hurdle and it's a huge avenue we're all going to go down at some point. Um, but the awareness is key. The awareness is key about just being aware of like what you're exposing your kid to, how you handle, and just I just think if we were to take away electronics, how much better our kids' behavior would be. Like it is. You just do the simple test of having your kid on TV and then have your kid off TV for a week. Like go on vacation where there's no TV, like you're camping or you're out in nature. Everyone is so much happier. It is
Totally.
it is not even funny.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's crazy. I noticed like my kiddo will have like I call them screen withdrawals. Like it's
yes.
so crazy. I'll be like, get off your screen, and like within 10 minutes, she's having a meltdown. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious right now? Like, what is happening? Because your screen's not in your face. You feel like you need to melt down about this. Like it's not even a
Yeah.
big deal. And so it's just fascinating to me how intertwined, and if you think about it, like they literally have professionals create these games and shows and everything that they put on a screen to be addicting. They literally go to school to learn how to make these addicting, to watch, to play. And so of course it is an addiction. It truly is. Like once you look at the science of how they create it, they made it to be addicting. So
Yeah.
when they turn off the screens, they truly are going through a withdrawal, feeling like they're missing out on something, right? I can't remember what my friend calls it, fear of missing out or something. um so I think that's just like a huge factor in it too. Yeah, and it's my and I mean part of it too is like we homeschool, and a lot of what she does is on screen. So there's that part, and then trying to balance what she's playing and how much she's playing because she's already on screen for school. Like it's just a whole, man, I can't wait to not be talking about screens anymore, like forever. Okay, I'm so done.
Yeah, exactly. But there are ways we can approach this. One recent uh, a friend introduced to me, like she listens to a lot of audiobooks, and there's this one, it's called Reset Your Child's Brain. And this is going on in like electronic detox and how to go about um, doing that. There's like ways, like there's actually help for doing kind of thing. And this book is really, really valuable. If you guys want to listen to that, it's on Audible and it's Reset Your Child's Brain.
Okay.
It's the long one, and it's full of so much information, like all these research studies on kids, and their behaviors regarding electronics and how it affects them, and how to help your child.
Okay. Huh, I never heard of that.
Yeah, nor had I, but she has done it with herself and her kids, and she's seeing like a big improvement. And she's a channel and as well, and so she's found her channel to be even clearer, like just doing the internet detox and like getting off of TikTok and just not letting it be so consuming.
Totally. Well, that's something I've really struggled with recently, just and just kind of decided, like, everyone's like, you've got to be on social media to be successful, like for your business, da, da, da. And I struggled with it for so long, and I was like, fine, I'll do it. Okay, I'll try to love it. Okay. And then finally I was like, fuck this shit, I ain't trying to do any of this. It does not feel good. I don't want to be on a screen. I don't want to be on social media. And the fact that
Yeah,
I'm only doing it for work, when it's something I don't love, like, I want to be massaging people. And I've never, ever gotten a client from social media. Always
yeah.
word of mouth. It's always somebody telling their friend, oh, girl, you got to go see this girl. It's never
Mhm.
been. So I just
Right.
recently decided, like, no, I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel
Yep.
good. And it doesn't resonate to me. We over here talking about teaching our kids how to do it, how to listen to
Mhm.
that discernment and resonance. And I'm like, this doesn't
Yep.
resonate. Okay. I don't
Yeah.
want to do it.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been the same way. Like I've had this big resisting element to even doing so much on social media, and I feel it's not where I want to put my energy. I feel
Exactly.
like it's where I mean, I don't know. I have an Etsy store, and that's I get a lot of people all over the world, and that's awesome. And I love being like doing that because it's one space, and it's not like I'm making video feeds for like so many things
Yeah.
and having to update it. It's a lot of work, but
It
I
is.
don't think it has to be that way.
Right. And honestly, like, right, we want to help people. We want to make change, but the people who want that are going to come find us. Like,
Yeah.
really, like, I'm not going to keep I put videos out, and I don't care how many views. We were just talking about this. We don't have that many views right now, but it's fine. Like, whoever's meant to listen to it is going to listen to it, and whoever doesn't,
Yes.
ooh, go on with your life. Go on with your bad self. I wish you nothing but wellness and blessings. I'm going to stay over here doing me. But just staying in doing something that doesn't feel good to us is, because other people have had success with it, doesn't mean that it's for us. And I
Right.
I feel like, yeah, like, if we're all not going to have online or screen time, whatever it's going to look like eventually, we will have built up what we have in person enough to sustain what we're trying to do and to help the people that we're meant to help. It doesn't need to depend on having a screen in our face or having social media or any of that stuff. Because, you go on Facebook, and, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, let me go post this video, or wait, I need to go look for this one thing on Facebook. And I'll be like, oh my God, look at the cute kitten. Oh my God, that breakfast she made looks bomb. Let me look at that recipe real quick. And then I totally forget what I was doing for like 20 minutes. And then I
Mhm.
stopped, like, why am I on Facebook? What did I even go here for? It's like a
Yes.
trap. It's crazy. And then I get off, I immediately remember what I went on there for, and I go back on Facebook trying to find what I was looking for, and I do the same thing over again. I'm like, what is happening?
Yes, I think then you're caught in this vicious cycle of it, it's like entrainment. It's like brain entrainment to be distracted.
Totally.
It's so easy to get on, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy. So for us as grown ass people with the development, already there, and it's that hard
Mhm.
for us, that's why I'm like, how like, I don't know, how can we make it, how is it beneficial for these kids to be on these kinds of things, or how can we make it, or yeah, I don't know. Like, Madi has her own Instagram page for her business stuff. I think, is it Instagram or Facebook? I don't know, one or the other, but she never touches it. But and I don't let her go on any kind of social media. But like I said, even with the games and the shows and stuff, it's a whole nother ball
Yeah.
game. It's crazy.
Well, check that book out. I'm gonna
I definitely
actually
will.
listen to it. I listened to it a little bit, but I'm gonna continue on.
Yeah. Well, let's try to provide the link for people if they want to check that out too. What's it called
Yeah.
again?
Reset your child's brain.
Reset your child's brain. So we don't find that and post it in here for you guys, for anyone that's listening and interested in it.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you all for listening this long. If you've made it this far, we love
Yeah.
you.
Thank you
Yes.
guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, we wish you so many blessings and bliss and wellness and joy and love and peace and love and light. We're going to end it like that.
All right. See you next time.
Hey, everyone. Have a good one. Bye bye.